everybody pushes the sweets towards the end of the year, and we are all followers. I mean, the world is all followers. I remember when I was a girl, my dad called me a bitch, and everybody in the family was like, she's such a bitch. And then one day I read this thing that if somebody calls you a bitch, just know that you are a powerful, forceful woman of light. And I was like, oh, I am a bitch. I was married for 27 years, and for the most part, very happily. But as I started to grow and expand, my husband at the time did not like the idea of me expanding and growing. So we ended up resulting in a divorce. I was never meant to be a 9-to-5-er. That was never going to work. I was always... And during the estate planning and everything, I said, listen, I don't want to get married. And I said, I've been with my guy for 11 years and he's wonderful and all that. I said, but I don't want to get married. And he is from Costa Rica. So to give him a green card, I can marry him. And we've been together and I don't plan on separating, but I don't want to get married. So I have to find a way to make him more, American useful. So I said, we got to figure out a plan here because I don't want to have to marry somebody, because as soon as that piece of paper is signed, I change. Well, he changes, but I change too. And I become more subservient. I start cooking more meals. I start doing more laundry. I start wiping more butts. And I change into a role that is kind of sewn into our DNA. And he becomes a little more macho. He becomes a little more expectant and probably
do you think that is the status quo for that paper? And why do we allow that to happen?
Well, I honestly believe it's in our DNA. I believe it's woven into us.
How we break.
We can't help it. I don't know. And if we're not that way, I think we're defiant. We're purposely being defiant because we don't want to adhere. But it's so funny. I'm watching Downton Abbey, and someone told me years ago to watch this show, and I'm like, oh, it's so boring. But I've been kind of convalescing at home, so it's the perfect show to watch. Old English aristocracy and the servants and the whole patriarchal society. And I'm watching it going, wow, that was less than 100 years ago. And this was what was woven into us.
Yeah.
This is how it all began. And we've come so far, and yet we might have been led down the wrong path, because there is some beauty in being honored as a woman and being cared for. And did you know that women in that age, if you got married, you were allowed to eat breakfast in bed, be served breakfast in bed? I'm like, well, that hadn't happened in my marriage.
Yeah. Why?
And yet I did all the rules.
Why did we go away from that?
Somehow I was the cook, the scullery maid, and everything. Plus, I had to perform my wifely duties. And I was like, and what happened on the other end? Don't know. So yeah, I don't want to sign a paper. I don't want to have it legally bound. I want it to be romantic and emotional and a choice that we make each day. But at the same time, I've been with a guy 11 years. And I'm an American citizen and he's a Costa Rican citizen. And how do we do that without signing that piece of paper?
Yeah. Don and I had the exact same thing. We did not get married for the longest time. And then I don't want to be unromantic, but it really came down to taxes. And it was easier to be combined with the same last name to get bank loans and leases and and then when we franchise, it really pressured us into it. So again, we loved each other, but I agree 1,000% with you that paper, I never wanted that paper again. And it's just, and I'm getting ready to have our first grandbaby and it's a girl and I just refuse. I'm not buying her kitchen sets and dolls. And because I think that's where it begins with us is that.
Well, unless she wants it, because there are, and I think that's really honorable. Like, I wanted to get married and have babies the first time around. I wanted that. And I did it and I was really good at it. And then I wanted more. And the documents we signed said, no, you do what I say and this is all you get. And so we had to separate in order for me to become who I am today. And I see my daughter and she's like, I don't want to get married. I wanted to get married. I wanted to have kids. I did exactly what I wanted. And so if a little girl wakes up and says, hey, mommy, 2-year-old, 3-year-old, I want to be a princess, then let her be a princess. If she wants to be a cook, and she wants the kitchen set, let her be. But if she wants a hammer and she wants checkbooks and writing, she wants to do whatever she wants to do. We got to encourage it. And we're all made differently.
No, but I think both options should be presented and to see, as long as she doesn't take the hammer and beat the baby with it. Exactly. Then we have problems on the other side. All right. We just went right into that, Diana, and tell us, I mean, that was a strong entry. We're not getting married. We're not doing a piece of paper, but there's so much more to you. And you have the #1 resort in Costa Rica. And I don't know the story of how you got there with a resort. I met you at QVC. You were selling a fiber bar.
Yeah.
And we were on stage back to back from each other. And I know that that's kind of, you're not doing that anymore. And I know that there's so much more that you have done. I mean, so please tell me your backstory.
Well, we let in right with it. So I was married for 27 years and for the most part, very happily. But as I started to grow and expand and my kids were going off to college, my husband at the time did not like the idea of me expanding and growing. So we started to grow farther and farther apart. He had his goals and I had mine. And so we ended up resulting in a divorce. And during that time, I was so distraught that, I was doing television, I was doing infomercials, and so there was a lot of things going on in my life, and I was helping people through, I'm a wellness coach. So I was writing books and, doing TV for juicers and kale commercials and all that. And so I had a producer and, I was dating him and that at the same time. So he and I started Truth Bar together because I was part of this infomercial for Tabata Wellness with NBC Universal and yada, yada, yada. And they said, could you design a bar for this exercise program? And I ended up designing it and it turned out to be a really great hit. We started this business together. But meanwhile, I also I bought a piece of property in Costa Rica and I started building a wellness resort. So they were simultaneous. I mean, if I look back to myself 12 years ago, 14 years ago, I would never do again what I did 14 years. I don't have it in me anymore. But at the time, I was like trying to get over the loss and the pain of losing my family. I really didn't want to get a divorce, but it was just the universe took care of it all for us. It was just like, you guys are going 2 different directions, and this is what has to happen. So I kind of put all my pain and anger and energy and my sadness and put it into building these 2 businesses. One of them fumbled and fumbled and fumbled, and it went into other hands and came back to me, and that was Truth Bar. And the truth is, I never wanted to become a manufacturer. I never wanted to become a retailer in that way. I was a healer. That was my specialty. So the retreat, on the other hand, was thriving. It was growing organically, and people were following me. And so I put all my money into that. All my money. I put every last penny, every last drop of sweat. And to this day, I have not taken $1 out of that company. I've just been growing it. Every time we make money, I just grow it. And I add more programs and I add more buildings and I add more restaurants. And I want to make sure it's really my legacy. And it has become my legacy. I made the decision to finally give up on Truth Bar this year and had a few buyers that were interested. But the juice wasn't worth the squeeze. I thought, you know what? I don't want to go through 6 months of due diligence with these people to come out with maybe, little pocket change in the grand scheme of what I'm doing. And the energy needed to be focused on where I was excelling. It's like, you had this kid that was doing so great in school and you wanted to put all your energy into it. And then you got the one that's kind of dragging behind. Not to say you ever should leave your child in the dust is dragging behind, but I couldn't give it any more help. At one point it had to help itself. Yeah. And it wasn't going to. So I made that decision in January and it took us till June to dismantle it. And the retreat, it's so funny. As soon as I let go of that business, the retreat just blew up. Because all my energy went there. It was so lovely. And I'm beyond excited for what's happening at my hotel. So it's the Retreat Costa Rica. Started off as 9 rooms. We're now at 25, got 3 restaurants, world-class spa, voted number 1 in the Americas. And Condé Nast just voted us. They do like I guess all the people vote, anybody who's ever been there, and they have a number system. And so we had 99.6 points out of 100. And the next person, number 2, was like 97.9 points. So we really killed it, and very excited about that.
Now, you still live in California?
No, I moved to Miami. Gosh,
that's right.
4 years ago. Yeah.
Okay. So you travel from Miami to Costa Rica. Like, how long or how much time do you spend over in your retreat? Because I see you on Instagram. I don't know if that's like real time or when you're over there, but
more than normal in the last couple of years, because we just added a huge luxury wellness club called Santosha. And that was, I do all the design. I do all the architecture with my boyfriend. He does all the engineering, and we build it together. Every single thing in that hotel I have picked. I have designed and picked. I have carried it over my shoulder and put it in place. I've dug holes and planted plants.
Oh.
Literally.
It's gorgeous.
Backbreaking stuff, which I love.
I watched this past renovation of the space that you're creating, and it looked to me like it was all marble, right? Like,
no, it's actually an interesting stone.
A stone. Okay.
Stone that my boyfriend actually, he makes it with acrylic. It's all hand done. We don't import things anymore because we really want to build on the Costa Rican culture and keep it really sustainable. So no, we figure out chemically how to make things happen there. Yeah, you know how you are in the kitchen with your food, and you're seriously.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a food chemist too. Like, I know there's certain ways as a chef that you have to make things work. It's the same thing with engineering and using the materials. You have to make sure you use the earth and get all the ingredients right, so it's sustainable, but it's delicious. It's just like food.
Well, I don't think very many people know, because everything is so accessible to us in the United States. But for you, like my friend, I introduced you guys together. That's doing the tree houses, right? Like you said, everything has to be imported over there and come on the boat and pick it up at customs, I'm assuming. And then there's not very much transportation over there because there's no cars. And when she bought her property over there, it was funny. She bought the house, and then it came with like this mini van that was all beat up and everything. She's like, oh yeah, I don't want that. And then come to find out, you can't get another car over there. She's like, I should have took the beat up minivan. But I mean, I love that you know
well, there's like a 50, it's a ridiculous, there's like a 50% import tax on cars, 55, I think. I mean, you could buy one over the border and drive it across, and bam, you could buy, let's say you bought a $40,000 car, you'd have to spend $20,000 just to get it into Costa Rica. It's crazy. It's actually crazy. Costa Rica is not cheap. People think it is. It's really the jewel of Central America. And, I don't want to get myself in trouble here, but I mean, I heard somewhere, and I believe it, that Costa Rica was developed by the U.S. as a money laundering system. Their whole government is based on how can we hide and move money around? And that's why they're getting a lot of bad press right now, because what was happening between Venezuela, the South America and the U.S. was a lot of drug situations going on. And so it'll be interesting to see now that that has changed, what's going to happen to Costa Rica. I think maybe the corruption will start to, I don't know. Let's hope corruption's disappearing, parts of the world. I don't know.
So tell me how you met your boyfriend. Is that what we're calling your?
So I was a divorcee, and he was the pool boy.
Really? No.
Kind of. So I was living in San Diego, and it was a 10-hour flight by the time I went through Texas to get to Costa Rica. So I would leave in the morning and get there at night. And one particular, I had to start building the pool. The pool was actually, it had a crack in it, and I had to remodel. That was like the first thing. We knew that was going to be the messiest. And so we hired a local guy who was an engineer who had his own pool company. And when I arrived at like 1:00 in the morning, went to bed. So I could see that they're working on the pool. It's outside of my room. And 6:00 in the morning, I hear this guy, ori, 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 in Spanish. I had no idea what he was saying. I just knew it was 6:00. I opened my curtain and I was like, He takes his long hair and he looks at me. It's like, the whole Fabio Tarzan thing. And he goes, okay, princess. I was like, okay, he's kind of cute. I think I'm going to keep the curtains open for now on. We flirted for about a year until one day, he came to an event I was having at the hotel, and I was like, oh, I forgot about him. We just had really great chemistry. And we finally, after about a year and a half, we kind of got together, and he hasn't left yet. He's been like gum on my shoe.
And then from there, you guys decide that you're going to build this resort. So
no, it was already built.
the resort was already built.
It was partly built, but he came in, and when he started seeing all the problems. He fixed everything. He was MacGyver. And the builders that helped me build it, they did everything wrong. They screwed everything up. I mean, there were light fixtures there was electricity that wasn't even touching through the roof lines. There was leaks. He did everything, and he became, actually, I think he learned a lot more than he ever possibly thought he could. And we went through many, many remodels and many, buildings and changes. We even hired someone to do the spa. I didn't have him do it because, I wanted to get proper builders in and have it done. And we managed every minute of every day, and it was a disaster. And in the end, he had to go in and fix it. So when we did Santosha, we started from base up. He did everything, and it's beyond anything we've ever done. It's so beautiful. I very rarely take a step back and pat myself on the back. Honestly, I'm usually like, just next. And people ever say, do you realize who you are and what you've done? And I go, I have no idea. I don't pay any attention. Let's get to the next thing. But I can honestly say after Santosha was open, I mean, I'm blown away. I walk in there every day and just go, wow, we did this, honey. We did this.
I love it. So tell me about your wellness journey with that. How did you get into that? I mean, I don't even want to say how old you are. I know how old you are, and you look freaking amazing.
Oh, thank you.
Our first meet at QVC, I'm like, what? And I just heard, I was like, dang, I need to correct some things, I think, because I was coming up on my mile marker, and you totally.
Well, I don't mind saying it
on that.
I'll be 61 in a couple months. Oh my God, in a month and a half, I'm going to be 61 years old. Which is really interesting because I've never thought about my mortality before, and I'm starting to think about it, which is really creeping me out. But I'm lucky because I'm Persian. I'm half Persian. And so I think that I've got really good skin. And it's kind of held tight. I look at my dad who's 90, and he's still kind of a dude. He's still kind of, pulled himself together.
Yeah.
But my wellness journey was, I was actually sick. Like I was precancerous. I had thyroiditis. I had everything. All my stomach was a mess. By the time I was 33, I had ulcers, and that's when I started my healing journey. And and it's so interesting because when I was young, I was very careful. I mean, I was making almond milk before anybody did. We used to blanch them and take the skins off and then do it. Now we have nut milk bags, but when I was in my 30s, I started to get really sick. And this is kind of when we had the organic revolution, when organic food was being introduced back into our diets. And I remember how stupid I was. I thought, what does organic mean? I really it didn't compute in my head. I actually had to Google it. At the time, we didn't have much Google, right? There wasn't a lot going on the internet at the time. And I was like, what does organic mean for food? And every time we went to the market, right, an organic vegetable was like laying there limp. And I started to look into certifications. I started to look into food on a very deep level. I studied nutrition beyond. I actually, I got my raw food master's. And so I was trying to heal myself, and I did. And with that, I ended up writing a book called Get Naked Fast, a guide to stripping away the foods that weigh you down. And that's where I became a spokesperson for health and wellness. And then I wrote my second book, and then I started doing online books, and then I did podcasts, and I did shows, and that's how I got started. Was I had to heal myself. And I was one of the pioneers of the raw food movement that was kind of an old hippie 70s idea, garden, eat the raw food. And it kind of became resurrected. It didn't stick long term because it turns out that in today's world, a lot of people don't do well with raw food ongoing. but it's a great healing tool. And so I stayed away from being a raw foodist. I made a focus and a point of being anti-inflammatory. And at the time, we didn't even know what that was, right? What does that mean?
Yeah.
No dairy, no wheat, no sugar, no meat, no caffeine, no alcohol was my thing. And it wasn't no, like N-O. It was know your nose, K-N-O-W. You need to know your nose. And these no's are when you're feeling inflamed, just eliminate these from your diet or bring them down to a very small amount so that your body's allowed to heal. And then you can start incorporating a little bit at a time. And I think of it like when your glass is full of water, right? This is your water and that's your sickness. Let's say this is your level of inflammation or disease. When it gets to the very tippy top, all you need is one drop for it to spill over, right? Most of us will never be empty. Most of us are living maybe half to 3/4 full, but you don't want to be all the way to the top. And so when you know your nose, you eliminate some of those things in there and you allow yourself a cocktail, a hamburger, a night out with pizza, and wine. But if you're living here and you're eating all these horrible foods every single day, you're just pouring over disease and dysfunction and all those things. So that's where the nose came from.
I love that. Yeah. And obviously we're sitting here talking on January 12th, with New Year's resolutions being on this and everyone goes in and I always tell her like, what's your New Year's? I'm like, I don't do New Year's resolutions, and I'm sure, I bet you don't either. I bet you have a whole theory about this. Yeah. And, I'm like, because you should just be living normal every day. Like you should be doing these every single day. And the whole point with resolutions is, again, you don't have a mindset around that. You don't have a plan around that. You don't have, when's the last time anybody has made a resolution and then you don't have a consequences if you don't do that, right? I mean,
you're just making promises to yourself. Well, I'm sort of skeptical. I feel like everybody pushes the sweets towards the end of the year and we are all followers. The world is all followers. We whatever they say on the news, whatever they write in magazines, whatever, we're just like, oh, I guess we're supposed to drink and eat sweets for the next 3 months and be fat. Yep. And then we're going to start again on January. Well, what does that do? That increases gym memberships. That increases sales on healthy products. It keeps people nice and in a sick cycle. So we're all kind of brainwashed into believing that that's how life is. And it's not at all, ever. And it shouldn't be.
Right. And I never actually looked at it like that. Like it is kind of a whole marketing conspiracy, right?
Halloween.
Right?
Halloween is sugar. Thanksgiving is stuff yourself. And then Christmas is drink until and then New Year's is drink even more. And then there you go.
Yeah. I wonder, do you know what your dry January came in to play with that? Or had to be like recent? That hasn't been around long, right?
I don't know. I don't know when that came around. I was never really a big drinker, so I never kind of got into the dry January.
Yeah, me neither.
I'm like dry annually. I'm just dry.
So as you were growing up, take like your childhood, did you see, like if you could look back right now and look at yourself at the age of 2, 3, all those, could you see that this was your path all along or no?
No, actually, no. I can tell you that I was never meant to be a 9-to-5er. That was never going to work. I was always an outside of the box thinker. So in my childhood, I didn't belong, to be honest. They always say that anybody who didn't belong when they were children are actually do better when they're older. So I think I bloomed later in life. But I had a boyfriend in college and his mother was a nutritionist and psychic. And she said to me when I was 19 years old, she did like my reading or whatever. And she said, in your past life, you were a gluttonous king. And so I've got, this royalty. She says, and you ruined all your digestive system and you taxed, you taxed your system. So in your lifetime, you have to learn how to eat right and digestion. And then she said, she was doing my reading again. She goes, you've lost your filtration systems. And I said, she was like, have you ever had anything removed? And I said, well, I have no tonsils, no adenoids, and no appendix. By the time I was 17, I had all 3 taken out. And she's like, those are your filtration systems. Without those, you're going to be suffering most of your life through your digestion. So it wasn't until I got to about 33 when I had the precancerous cells in my stomach. I had ulcers and all the things that were based in the gut. And I was like, I remember her and I thought, wow, that is really interesting. She told me that this was going to be my mission in life. And that's where Truth Bar came out of, right? Because I was trying to get a bar. People were so obsessed with bars. And I said, but the bars are just like candy bars. There's nothing good about them. So how about we make a true candy bar that actually heals the gut? And that's why it was so successful in the beginning. That poor business had bad luck. It had 9 lives. It literally had like 3 owners and everybody was fighting to get it. And nobody wanted to fight to work for it. It was just crazy. It was like the biggest lesson I ever had.
So go back to the the retreat. Tell me, I mean, is it mostly women who come, or do you have a mix of? I'm just curious. Has nothing.
In the beginning, yeah. In the beginning, it was
women.
mostly, I would say it was 85% women in the beginning.
Okay.
And now I'd say it's almost half and half. It's like 60-40.
Lots of couples.
Lots of couples, a lot of couples. I think wellness travel is the thing now.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're going to a retreat. It was such a great name at the time. You know, no better SEOs than the retreat. Retreats were hot.
Yeah.
But now it is the Retreat Costa Rica. It is a wellness resort.
Resort.
And when I say wellness resort, you can come there just to chill and enjoy nature. There's monkeys, there's sloths, there's casote crawling around. I got peacocks on the property. We have amazing food, like amazing. We have bars. We have 2 bars. We have a lounge and another bar. You can drink. You can do yoga or not do yoga. You can go swimming. You can go to the spa. You can take classes. You can do sound healing. You can do a cacao ceremony. You can have one-on-one, or you can just lay by the pool and order drinks. It's wellness your way. And so, and to me, a retreat is getting away from the norm, getting away from what you do every day, getting away from that office that you're sitting in right now and saying, I'm here just to be. And I'm going to do wellness my way. What makes me happy? What makes me feel good? Well, clean air, good water, good sleep, and community are the things that really drive us, and good food.
I agree. I agree with all of that.
And everything else is just icing on the cake.
Well, I think that you're back in the retreat world, because that's what I feel like, the whole online programming was huge the last couple of years, right? And now AI, all of those things, like you can ask the exact same thing with the Chat GPT and get those programs, and so I was just kind of reading, like, those are out, retreats, experiences, connections are in. So it's, I guess if you've been on this world enough turns, right, we kind of start seeing those repeats that are happening again, which I think is cool at this. Yeah. I mean, I always say,
I went to a dinner party the other day and it was so cozy and it was so unpretentious and relaxed. And we just laughed. And I thought, God, I really miss community. And I think for the last few years, like you're saying, there was so much online, so much disconnection. And it actually affected me emotionally because I am sort of a loner anyway. So I need to have connection. Otherwise, I'll end up home with 100 cats,
Peacocks.
Well, it's easy to get locked behind it's funny. I went to the hyperbaric chamber today and I was sitting in the room getting changed and I'm waiting for the nurse. Like she was probably 26 years old. And I look over in the dark corner and she's sitting next to another hyperbaric chamber on her phone, so stuck in her phone. I waited for her for 20 minutes. She didn't look up for 20 minutes. And I was like, oh my God, you're here. I was sitting here waiting for you to enter to put me into the chamber. And she was so distraught because she was just in her phone, like sucked in. It was, I can't say that I haven't been there, but it was weird.
Right. No, I totally. But then again, I think that our discipline, we know when and when not to be doing that. Right. And if you know that you have a client or a customer coming in, then it's not the time. It's time to be focused. But I get it. Time flies when you're flipping, right? And doing all
Totally.
that. But I don't know. I think, again, I think the resort and especially the wellness, you're right in the where you need to be with the timing,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. I agree. I agree. And it's going to be bigger. It's, they predicted a certain amount of $1 trillion worth of wellness, but I think it's going to be bigger. And I'm so happy to be one of the pioneers, especially in Costa Rica, that, it's like, that's one thing I have going for me is I'm a little psychic. So I see things before they happen. And I feel like we've established ourselves in a really good place to see it take off.
I agree.
And I'm going to build more. I'm going to take the year off and then we're going to build more rooms and we're probably going to start doing residences because, that and suites, because let's say your husband and mine and we want to go on a vacation, but we don't want to come back. We're not thinking about going to Vegas and, taking we're mature people who want to feel good, have dinner together, maybe take a class, talk about it, laugh, get some spa treatments. What if we wanted to have a cocktail together in our little suite? People do like to travel together in couples in a wellness way and come home feeling refreshed, not feeling like they have to have a vacation from their vacation.
No, I mean, we just went out with 3 of my girlfriends and did and we wanted to stay in a big house together because I want to have coffee together with my guests. I think coffee and morning talk and
The best.
has the mask on, like you're coming out of bed, you're in comfy clothes. It's just, I don't know.
It's so raw.
Part of the day with company and stuff. Tell me a little bit. Do you have an opinion on RFK with the whole where it is going?
So, I always hate talking about anything political because,
I just had to ask you.
People are so up in arms and angry. I could not be happier for what he's doing. Down to 11 vaccines in the children. I fought really diligently not to get vaccines for my children. My ex-husband was sort of a vigilante and very, very in the system. So we never agreed on that. Thank God I was the mom and I got to decide at the end of the day, unless he was driving them to the doctor. So my kids didn't get a lot of vaccines. Thank goodness. And the food pyramid going upside down, I am ecstatic.
Me too.
I mean, I'm a 61-year-old woman. I'm in fairly good shape. My skin is pretty tight. I live on butter. And remember, I was a raw foodist, so I did it in my 40s, but it doesn't work for me now. I live on butter. I live on cream. And the fact that we're going to start healing some of the food systems. I mean, you're already doing that, which is such a beautiful thing, but it's not easy to do. It's not cheap, as you know. Everything that we try to do to help people turns out disastrous because they've done everything they can to push us down in trying to make food better.
Correct.
And I just think I love what RFK is doing. I think that what he's doing is great. And the abuse that he gets is so ridiculous because if you look at the last health administration, I'm like,
overweight.
Well, they're trying to normalize overweight and saying it's something. I mean, even with this Ozempic phase, this craze that's going on with Ozempic, the thing about Ozempic that's really interesting is peptides have been actually shut down in the United States.
Correct.
And and the reason we need peptides nowadays is because they reignite our own system's ability to heal. And so, of
you
course,
should get them.
You should be able to get them. And then you got Ozempic. Well, sure, Ozempic tells you not to eat, tells your body not to eat, but not really. What it's doing is it's allowing your body to create GLP-1. And the reason we can't naturally create GLP-1 is because it's not in the foods anymore. The foods that are available with GLP-1 are no longer available, or they've somehow, I don't know how they've twisted it. So, and then there's proof that the GLP-1s are helpful in heart disease, cancer. So yes, maybe it's synthetic, but we're moving from one place to the next because America is grotesquely obese.
Yeah.
And I mean, I was born in 65, so I remember the 70s and the 80s. Our food systems weren't horrible.
No.
Even when they had TV dinners, at least then it was frozen stuff, right? It was good stuff.
Well, yeah. And
now it's horrible.
I think as we kept going and we went through all these phases that we started again, there's always been profit, right? But they could see where they could even make more profit and in more money and all of this. And to, let's not do fructose sugar. Like, let's make the high fructose cereal that we can like even expand even more, and it's cheaper and it gives you that, that craving. And, I think a lot of us have been living in bubbles. I'm not saying us, but our population, like the whole organic and the whole grass fed and free range and all of this. And we want to tell ourselves something, right? But honestly, we know deep down that the foods that they're telling us that it is, even the organic and the grass fed, it's not truly,
No.
We have a perception that Farmer Joe is out there petting our cows and feeding them the grass and then taking them to the butcher. And that's the meat that we're getting. And that is so far from the truth, which is what I've always advocated, that everyone wants to die on this organic path. But I'm like, unless you're truly making it or you have your garden in the back of your yard and you are making that is the true organic source.
Yep.
But we're not going to do that because one, we could Google it. I think we could figure it out now with all the resources that we have with that. But two, who wants to take their time to grow our own food ourselves, right? And at the deep. So
that's what's cool. Back to Costa Rica, we grow 80% of our food on the property.
I think that is incredible. And I truly,
and it's a lot of work.
Yeah. And I don't think that people realize how much work that is. And then what you get, right? And how you're supposed to feed the entire America with that. If we didn't grow and farm and all of this, or, farm raise, and we would not have the food. I mean, especially for the amount that we consume. And I can't remember what the statistics is, maybe that but like, what is the amount of food that is just in our grocery stores on our shelves? And we're going down a whole rabbit hole right here, but they, at one point, I think it was during COVID, after post-COVID, but the amount of food that we just have sitting on our grocery shelves right now, like it is insane of the amount of food that we have just sitting here in storage, Yep.
It's so funny. I'll go to Whole Foods or Trader Joe's. I love Persian cucumbers.
Yeah.
And I go to get the Persian, and every single time I buy them in that package, they're mushy.
I know.
I don't know how long they've been sitting there. It's like, I would just rather I want to grow them in my backyard.
I know.
But nobody's home. I'm not home.
Yeah.
You're not home. You're traveling tomorrow. I'm gone all the time. I want to build a garden so badly, but I need to be here. I have 4 avocado trees. I'm literally carrying bushels to my neighbors. I have more avocados than I can deal with. I've given them to the gardener, the pool guy. I've given them to my neighbors.
Closer.
I had to buy a freezer so I could freeze them so I can give them away.
That's amazing.
You can produce a lot of food on your own property.
You can't.
Do the same thing at mango season. I do the same thing at mango season.
I love crazy. All that. And I wish we were closer because I would take all of that. So
I'm going to fly my mangoes to you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. All right. Final thoughts. Everything. Womanhood, sisterhood, resorts, badass CEO.
Well, I used to hate the word badass because why do they have to make us bad? And why do we have to be asses? Like, why can't we, I remember when I was a girl, my dad called me a bitch. He literally, and everybody in the family was like, she's such a bitch. She said, and then one day, it was probably when I was in my mid-20s, I read this thing that if somebody calls you a bitch, just know that you are a powerful, forceful woman of light, and or something like that. And I was like, oh, yeah. I like this. I am a bitch.
You still hate the bad.
I like that now. I'll take it.
But you didn't come up with anything for the badass CEO, right?
Well, somebody called. I actually, after I was dating my producer, before I was dating my boyfriend, I dated a guy, and he said, "You're such a badass," and I was like, "I really don't like that." And then I started to read. There was a book about being a badass, And I said, oh, this is actually really nice. So, but why does it always have to be like we're negative and there's always a negative connotation to a powerful woman. And, fine, whatever makes you happy. But honestly, and I've seen some pretty awful, badass men, and oh God, he's so smart. He's so great. Wow. God, I really feel protected around him. He's so amazing. God, I would put him as my CEO in a heartbeat. He's so amazing. But no, we're badasses and bitches. I don't know. Not so sure how that all happened.
So what's your preferred title then?
Well, I would like to say that I'm Mother Earth. Very, I am a very powerful queen, Mother Earth.
Okay. I can get down with that.
Yeah. I mean, I know that anybody's around me feels safe because I take care of everything, and I'll nurture them to death, but I'll nurture them with love and a very big stick. And so,
I love that.
Yeah.
Dawn and I are coming to the resort. Yeah. We're going to put it on the calendar. We have not had a vacation in 5 years. And so I think that yours would be perfect to.
It would be. You tell me. You contact me. I want to make sure I'm there and everything.
I will. I definitely will.
Good.
All right. So where can we book this resort at? Give me website.
TheRetreatCostaRica.com.
Love it.
The Retreat Costa Rica. I told you it was a smart SEO move.
It was. Well, I love you, and I am so glad that we met at QVC. As soon as we got in the car together, I'm like, she's my people.
I know. We didn't stop talking. It was so cold, too. Remember, we were freezing.
Oh, it was so cold, so cold. Well, thank you for joining us, and I can't wait to come visit you in Costa Rica.